All right, hey, AgTeacherThoughts here, coming at you with our weekly live. It is the 12th of November. Don't have much on the schedule today for this. Got some replanting that we're going to work on, so I'm going to kind of throw some things together, and we'll do a little bit of that. As people have questions, I'll answer those as usual. But if not, I'm just gonna mainly work today. Uh, this is a time of year that kind of keeps me busy. So let me get some stuff so we can start working. All right, so got our tabletop. But yeah, this time of year kind of keeps me busy outside of the greenhouse. So if you've seen my other channel, which is Ag Teacher Christmas, I do extreme Christmas decorating, and been working on that in the last few evenings and days. I might do a live on that channel eventually, but yeah, I'm setting up thousands and thousands of Christmas lights, so it takes a little bit before I have time to come work on this. All right. Hopefully that coffee cup stays. Today is just going to be some replanting. So we're going to go in and we're going to work on some of our stuff that's going to go in our hanging baskets this spring. It's starting to get overgrown for the size of where we're at, and it's going to start to cause issues. So it's going to kind of stunt the plant, and the roots are going to get all bound up in there. So it's time to get those out of that container and get them into a new container. So I've got some 4-inch pots over here. We are definitely early from what I wanted to do this, but these are going to kind of be our stock or mother plants for what we're going to grow this coming spring. So I'm just going to kind of fill some of these out. Let's put this down a little bit lower so you guys can kind of see what's going on. Okay, so we're gonna fill a bunch of 4-inch pots. These are a standard 4-inch blow mold pot. They fit a nursery flat that I have, so I can put these pot to pot to pot in a flat if I wanted. I think it holds 16 in a flat, so it's 4x4. The flats are also designed so that there is minimal space in between them. When I was younger, this used to be what I would do. I would just take soil, I'd put it in a container. So you'd scoop it up in a wheelbarrow, put your hand there, and then scrape it across. Which, let's see if I can do this without getting. Yeah, so this is what I would do a lot as a kid. So 5-6 years old on the farm, this is one of my jobs, just like that. And I would do that thousands of times, just like every farm kid. That's kind of how that was my chores, basically fill pots. Then when my siblings and I started getting a little older, and Dad realized that some of us are going to leave the farm and we were going to go off on our own, or we weren't available as much, he got something called a flat filler. So it was a great big machine, and all it really did was fill pots up with soil and brush off the excess. So those flats that I have are designed to work in one of those machines. So you can see how these all just have a little tiny gap. So when you put them in there, so as you load these up, you would load all the empty pots in a flat, and then you'd run that flat through the flat filler, and it would put all the soil in the pot, and then it would brush it off nice and smooth, and then you'd have a filled pot when you were done. And this is pretty much how most large nurseries work now is they have flat filling machines. Some of them are really cool in that not only do they have a flat filling machine, but they have machines that'll take the plugs or the plant starts out of their tray and put them in the pots themselves, and then that pot moves down the assembly line. So the only thing that the workers need to do is either maintain the machine or take those flats and then load them on a cart, which then will move to whatever grow house they're going in, and put their cuttings down on the benches. So yeah, I think this is enough to work with right now. All right. Storing my cup of coffee out of the range of soil, because soil, peat moss, and coffee, though I've drank it before, it's not pleasant. Okay, so the one we're going to work with first is we're going to work with our petunia pink vein. And kind of how I know it's time for it to be transferred up is I'm seeing some of the leaves that are down underneath are getting less light. So if you look at this one, this is a prime example right here. So see this leaf here? When I move that to the side, see how that one is yellow just about in the shape of where that leaf was, right? See how it shades that? So I know that they're too close together. They're crowded, so they need to be spaced out. So we're gonna put them here, and then we'll trim them up to make sure that, well, we'll basically pinch them. We're just gonna make sure that they don't get too big too quickly. So with these, if you've seen my video, how to plant plugs like a professional, I'm going to squeeze on both sides, gently grab that plug. Oops, I just broke that. Oh, these are kind of sticky. It's hard to do that when it's elevated. And these are bigger plugs than I normally work with. Okay, so I'm just going to put that there. That's what our plugs look like. So if you're growing your own firefly petunias, it should look like a bit like that, but the internodal spaces are a little bit big on these. But anyway, I'm kind of grabbing those by lowering the stem, and I'm going to put them down. These with my clippers. I'm going to clean up any of this dead material that's down here, dead or yellowing. The yellowing is not going to get better. The plant has already decided that it's going to get rid of those leaves. So in the winter months when we have higher moisture, and let me tell you, there's a lot of high moisture in this greenhouse, it's best if we remove all that dead plant material so it's not feeding fungus, leading to botrytal rot, or damping off as you might know it. So we're going to get that out of the way. Okay. So pink vein is a trailing petunia. This is the one that I have done some crossing with the fireflies with this one. And it will, there's that blossom. Very pretty blossom. It'll travel down 5 to 6 feet. We're going to be designing and building some baskets in a couple of months. Well, probably January. We're going to work on building some baskets. And we will use the correct size container for these to really give them a good start, with the goal this year of trying to get them definitely down to 6 foot. Let's get to work on this a little bit more. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them down in the comments. Hopefully they pop up for me. I know this is kind of off-season growing, but whether you realize it or not, most of the plant material you buy in hanging baskets is much, much older than what you think it is. Back in the day when my family farm used to raise fuchsias, so hanging fuchsia baskets, we actually planted those. We would have planted them a month ago. We planted them in October. So by the time you bought a basket from us in May, it was months old, which is kind of why Dad always said that it doesn't matter if you go buy your fuchsia basket for Mom on Mother's Day, it will never look like a fuchsia basket we sell because most people didn't put enough time on them. You know, not enough growing time. It's looking pretty good. I don't see any aphids on these, which is always a bonus. Sorry, the format's been a little crazy lately. My computer I normally stream with is down, which is why I'm kind of struggling to edit and get videos up. So I'm trying to work to get that replaced so that I can upload more content. I've got it. I can't edit it without going through a huge difficult process. So hopefully this week I'll get that repaired, and then we'll be back up to streaming mass amounts of content for you. Okay. I'm going to take out any of the leaves that just don't look good. So if they don't look good, they're dying, they're all going to come off. Alright, freeze up that pony pack for something else. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and plant these now. With these, I'm going to kind of show you how it goes, and I'll do it slow speed, so, you know, remember this for the spring. With a plug this size, it's a 2-finger hole, okay? So you 2 fingers, pull it to the side, shove the plug down, then you bring your other 2 fingers around, and you squeeze the soil down, okay? I think you can see that pretty much the same way. Let's bring this down a little bit more. Yeah, hold on. All right. 2 fingers to make the hole. Shove the plug down, soil around, and push down. Okay, making sure all the dead plant material is out of the way, which is ironic because we're planting them in dead plant material. We're planting them in peat moss. Okay. Now, we're always going to put some tags in our main plants so we know what they are. So that's going to go in that corner. And I'm going to start just putting them off to the side with the rest of our starts. There you go. There's a finished one. Get the coconut out of the way. Okay, I'll bring my next set down. 2-finger hole, shove the plug down, bring the soil around. Just like that. There you go, there's 4 of them. So with this, if you get the process really down, you can do hundreds and hundreds of plugs an hour. If you have help laying out your plugs, you could easily do 1,000 plugs in an hour. I used to always tease my students that I could outplant them, and it would usually take several students just to keep up with me. But that's, you know, that's what happens when you've done it your entire life. There we go. All right, we're gonna do the pitaya next, so I'll get them out of the way because it's in the way of where I want to put my next batch of plugs. Put this down here so that I know that's the end of it. So we'll do this again real slow. 2 fingers for the hole, shove the plug in, push the soil around. Two fingers for the hole, shove the plug in, fingers around for the hole. Okay, so just like that. So I'm just basically scooping the soil out of the way, picking it up, shoving it around the plug and putting it back. And then, you want to make sure you're not grabbing all this extra dead plant material and putting it into your soil, because that'll lead to problems. So this stuff, get it out of your way, but you can definitely scoop up the waste soil while you're doing that. And then these plants are a little light in color, so I do need to fertilize them. So they'll get a nice dose of fertilizer water when I put them back in. Okay, got another tag there, so I know definitely what it is. And now we've kind of reached the point where they're going to blossom, and I'm going to know what they are. And I only have so many plants, so it's not hard to figure out which one's which. Especially since everything will be in bloom when we plant it, just as a part of us being in a smaller space. That's pretty much what's going to happen. Okay, we're going to fill a few more pots. We're getting soil in our coffee. All right. Move this over here. All right. Show you this process over here, where the machine used to be. When I'm filling pots for soil, you can see that this is nice and fluffy. I'm making sure that if there's any chunks like this in my bag soil, that I actually break those up. There's a video that I've got on my channel about how to break up compressed soil. I actually use a baseball bat, and I work the soil over so all of that compressed peat gets broken apart. It does two things. One, it allows more air down into the soil, which roots need air. They need the air to breathe. You can't grow roots underwater. I mean, you can, but bedding plants like this just don't like it. So it breaks up and loosens the soil, allows air in. But the other thing it does is you're buying a bag of compressed soil. So if you're constantly putting in the big clods in there and you're not breaking them up, you will use more potting mix than what you need for your job. Now that's a constant problem when you're working with students or new people in the greenhouse, is they want to be able to put those big chunks in the pot, big chunk like this. And here, let's do an example. So you see how this fits in like that, right? So it fits in nice and tight in there. If I take that and I just break that up, look how much more space that takes up in my pot, right? So you're wasting soil if you're allowing those clods to get in there. So I just make sure that I break all of those up. So I'm getting a nice light fluffy soil, and then I scree it off the top. So when it's nice and light and fluffy and you scree it off the top like that, when you water it, it's going to sink down, and it's going to sink down about a ½ inch or so. And that's going to leave space. So when you come over with a watering can, there's a little pond that's going to form on the top, and it's going to collect that water that you're watering it with and allow that then to soak through the soil. If your soil was level all the way like this, it's not going to be able to collect as much water, and your plant's going to dry out quicker. So screening it off the top and having that free board or that space at the top is actually going to allow your pot to hold more water. Okay, and don't try to plant volcanoes. Nothing grows on a volcano, so we don't want to have that there. Let's see. I think we need two more. Two more maybe. There's one. We'll do one more as a spare. All right. Bring it back over here. So for those of you that pop in and are wondering why I'm doing a planting live stream, it's because my plugs are too big and they need to get in another container. So this one's going to be Pitaya. So Pitaya has the very rich bright pink center, and then there is green around the outside. So this kind of gives you an idea. This is a little bud. So you can kind of see how the blossom has green around the outside and gets that rich pink. Those blossoms will look better when they're not in plugs in the off season. So we're going to kind of just loosen up those plugs. Well, I guess we do have enough. Bring that one back. We're going to pull them up. We're going to plant them. So with these, I'm not going to go through and pinch them yet because these are plugs that we're kind of struggling. But we are going to use all of the stuff that we're doing now when we go through and do another pinch. And we're going to take cuttings off of those pinches, and we're going to use those for some of our plants next spring, or this coming spring. All right, there we go. Okay, we're going to plant these just the same. 2 fingers in to make our hole. Then you just move soil around and you pinch it right at the base of the plant, right there. So right over the crown. Just like that. Okay, we'll put our plant tag on there. I'm going to kind of move them off way over to the side over here. So I want to kind of separate them from the other ones. By the way, when you're in a nursery and you have to move a lot of plants, you do it like this. You take 4 fingers, put one on each corner, and you pick them up like that. Or you can pinch 2 and pick those up. But that is how I would move lots of them at a time very quickly. All right. Always try to capture your waste soil. Soil is money, and money is profit. So don't throw away your profit. All right. So I think we're going to plant some verbena next. So this stuff's stretching a little bit, which I'm not super happy with. But I can't really add more light. I mean, I'm probably going to end up just adding more light time to our timers. So I've got my light timer over here. I may just add another couple hours in attempts to try to get the internodal spaces smaller. I mean, this one's great right here, but this one up here, I don't like how tall and lanky that is. But yeah, I can feel that these definitely need to be in their own containers. So we'll plant up some of those. We're going to just do 6 of these. So if you are a home grower, which I'm just assuming all of you that are watching are going to be home growers, if you want, you can buy square containers like this off of a nursery supply company. You're probably going to have to buy 500 at a time. The reason I've got them is I was a commercial grower, and I have a lot. I've got like 2,000 of them right now, and I've got like 500 flats to match them. So that's just all remnants from when my family ran our farm. We still had leftover stock when we stopped. So this is all just leftover stock. But for those of you doing small petunia breeding work, is a perfect size because they fit nice and compact together, so nice and tight, pot to pot, and they're just a standard commercial growing size. So you can get those from a grower supply company. Sometimes you could go in, if you have a nursery supply company by you, go in and ask them if they have any damaged cases, You know, I've done that before back when I used to raise cactus. So the first plants I raised in our greenhouse, I had some prickly pear, some peanut cactus, some types of fishhook cactus. I raised a lot of cactus, but I would go in and, being a kid, I needed to save money, so I'd go in and ask for broken cases, and I'd buy broken cases of 2-inch and 4-inch pots, and I could get them, you know, half off. So that's an idea for you. That's one way to do it. And hopefully you aren't all asking for the same stuff, like the same place. Okay, I'm gonna plant a few more here. Pardon the noise. I live by 2 hospitals, and that's our, I think that's probably the Reach chopper, but we have Lifeline and Reach that are up here. But around here, you don't generally get transported by ambulance. If you're in one of the outlying towns, you fly. So there's helicopters all the time. All right, so let's plant these plugs up. So this is our verbena, and it's either red verbena or purple verbena, and I don't know which is which. But if I would hazard a guess, I'm looking at the space here underneath the leaves, these brand new stems that are coming out. These brand new stems here are darker in color than the brand new stems here. So I would say that this is probably the purple and this is probably the red. Just kind of experience telling me that. Well, these plugs are a little dry, which is okay for verbena, just as long as they don't wilt. I'm really trying to work to control the moisture in here. It's well sealed up. It's so well sealed up in here that the moisture just doesn't get out. So when the plants respirate and when I water, get a lot of moisture in the air. Oh, and there's fish tanks down below with our water lilies in them. Okay. So these have already been pinched. So we pinched these on the last live stream. So I was talking about how when you remove the apical meristem, or that controlling bud, that it will force all of the other buds to grow. See how those are activated and growing? So these two here activated and these two here activated, and they're in a race to see who can get the tallest and become the apical meristem, or kind of the control center or brain of the plant. So that's why we pinched them on the last live stream, is to make them do that. And that's happened on all of these. Okay, this one actually activated the ones down here below too. Like this little guy is really trying to take control too. So that is why we do that. So that's going to make it branch. It's going to make a fuller plant as we go along. You know, the more branches, the fuller the plant. Okay, we're going to plant those down there. And when we do this, we're going to make sure we're not putting any leaves underground. Like this one here, those leaves are kind of underground. So I'm going to come in, find the base of that leaf, and I'm going to prune it off because I don't want underground leaves. There's no sun under the dirt, so we don't put leaves under the dirt because you don't want rot right at the base of your plant. That one should be okay. All right, here's those. All right, now let's take a look at this one. So this one, when we planted it, it was a mid-stem cutting. Oh no, the bud died. It's just a blossom. That's a blossom. So when it got planted and started to grow, it activated these two buds here on both sides, caused them to grow. But now I want them to branch, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to just take this cutting here. I'm going to take the tip of that out. Okay. I'm going to come in and do the same on this one. All right. Oops. Yeah, that'll work. So that'll make that one branch better. Okay. So there are 6 more. Now I got to find space for 6 more. Let's move this back over here. I'll move this one over here. They're all saying they're hungry, so Today's probably a fertilizer day. Move my verbena down. You know, the other thing that's going to be nice about having all of these plants and pots in the greenhouse is as we start heading into the colder time of year, like we're in the colder time of year, but when it starts getting down to the teens and the single digits, which I'm pretty sure it's going to get the single digits here this year, the volume of potting media that we have, pardon me, the volume of potting media that we have that is damp and controlling or containing moisture, that's going to also hold heat, and it's going to be easier to maintain the heat here in the greenhouse. So an empty greenhouse is harder to control heat than a full greenhouse. So if you think it's just got larger, more thermal mass, that'll keep it going. For those of you wondering what I'm currently using to heat the greenhouse, I'm not going to unplug it. That's it. So this little guy has its own internal thermostat, and I have a indoor-outdoor thermometer. So this is the outdoor thermometer, and it's right over on my bench sitting at plant level, and that monitors the temperature in my greenhouse. And then in my home, in a nearby window, I can actually go over and look at that indoor-outdoor thermometer, and when I look at the outdoor temperature, that's the temperature inside the greenhouse. So doing this with a little remote temperature sensor and a small heater, I can actually monitor the greenhouse temperature without actually having to come out here. So if it gets down, you know, it's 2 a.m. in the morning and I'm awake and I'm worried about the greenhouse, I can actually walk into where that window is, look at that thermometer, and then know the temperature of my greenhouse and have some peaceful, restful sleep. But yeah, that little heater just sits under the bench. It's got a little pressure switch, so if it gets tipped over, it'll shut off. But that's actually all that I am using to heat this greenhouse, is just that little tiny heater. So that's for now. If you look back in the other videos, I am working on designing a propane heater where I'm going to use some black iron pipe and some propane gas nozzles like these, and I'm going to work on a burner system. So this is going to be my burner. It's going to blow my heat down the tube. Actually going to end up using the other one of these. And then that tube is going to have my little tiny fan, which this is my vertical air fan now. So it blows air that's hot up here down. But that's going to be, we're going to get another one of those, and we're going to put it down around that pipe to blow that air, that hot air off of that pipe. But yeah, that's what we're going to work on. I think we're gonna kind of cut her a little bit short today. I think we'll do one more batch of pots, and then we're gonna call it good. So let's see if I've got enough. Because I'm gonna run out of stuff to do, and I got to go work on content for my other channel, Ag Teacher Christmas. So if you haven't subscribed to that channel, it's in the description of this channel, and that is where I do Christmas decorating. So not only am I a nurseryman, but I'm an extreme Christmas decorator, and I do musical Christmas lights. So I'm not as big here as I was at my other home. You know, over there I'd run between 60 and 80,000 Christmas lights, and I had 2.5 miles of extension cords to power them. So I just don't have the electrical capabilities here at this house yet to be able to do that. Sorry about that. I got text coming in. But I don't have the capability to do that. So maybe in the future. But I still do the animated stuff, so I've got a lot of that to work on. There's videos of the setup. I don't do videos of the actual musical lights themselves unless it's one of the songs that I have complete rights to, because YouTube, you know, they don't let us do all that. Okay, so we're going to do this last planting here, and then after we're done with that, we're going to wrap it for the day. And there are little petunias everywhere, so I have lots of volunteers that keep coming up. All right, we gotta squeeze that one a little. There we go. We'll let that volunteer come up. We'll see if it does anything. Well, that's interesting. This one, when I pinched the bud, I accidentally knocked off this bud over here. So that one overgrew it, but it didn't branch. So I'm gonna just let it go and let it get a little bit taller so I can pinch it again. And then we'll do the last one. All right, we're going to go ahead and plant those just as normal. I'm leaving that little seedling there, so we'll see if it actually turns into something. So this is our last batch of verbena. And then what I'll do is off camera, I'll go mix up fertilizer water, and these all get watered in with fertilizer. And then next week, we'll have another batch of plants to plant up. So this is MRP. We'll work on that, and then we'll try to do some other work on some other things. I also got to finish doing the triple wall insulation in the greenhouse, so putting in the layer of plastic over the top of the existing corrugated poly, with the hopes of adding another layer of insulation, which it should probably work. That's something I really need to get done. I tried to shoot it live while doing that, and it just didn't work. Anyway, all right, I want to see the work we've done today. That's all of the stuff that we planted up. So it gives it a lot more space. It'll give it more room for the roots, give us a chance to get more fertilizer in there so they can grow better. These are, of course, the sweet potatoes. They're doing good. But yeah, that's what we're doing there. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it here. I know it's a little bit of a shorter live. I usually do about an hour, but I think I'm gonna wrap it here. I've run out of stuff to do. And again, got to get over to those Christmas lights. But anyway, I hope you're learning something. I hope you're enjoying. I hope you subscribe and help us keep this channel moving. As always, Ag Teacher Thoughts.